Morning, Akiva. Morning, Morris. We are in the wide lines of the page. We did a lot yesterday. In the wide lines, 5 lines into the wide lines. Everyone have it? Lamed Zayin and Beis Amar Mar. Amar Mar. Mar is the master. So we're going back to what we said yesterday. We're going to analyze it. The Gemara now is going to analyze what we said yesterday. Amar Mar. We said yesterday, Hakoseis esachita. If you chew a piece of wheat, you take a raw piece of wheat and you chew it. What's the bracha on the raw piece of wheat? The raw piece of wheat, mevarech aleh borei. Good morning, Yosef Atzadik. The bracha is borei pri adama. The cholo, if you went ahead and the Gemara says vatanya, but we learned in the Braita, borei minei zraim, a different bracha. What's the bracha for if you go ahead and you chew wheat, raw wheat? The bracha is borei minei zraim. God creates with thanking Hashem. We'll recognize that He's the creator of, instead of saying borei pri adama, the fruit of the ground, you say borei minei zraim. That God is the one who creates all different types of seeds. Okay. Now, Mr. Haber said the reason why Mr. Haber never heard that bracha, because the Gemara is going to say the halacha does not follow that opinion, because that is the opinion that we had in the beginning of this parak.
Morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Mike. We're sorry about the challenge. Okay. So the Gemara stated that if the person eats raw wheat, one opinion says you say a borei pri adama on raw wheat. And there's another opinion that says that the bracha on raw wheat is borei minei zraim. A different bracha that Hashem creates all different types of seeds, like the seed from the wheat and so on and so forth. So the Gemara said it's not a contradiction. Look, Kasha, it's 2 different opinions. The Gemara says, look, Kasha. The Gemara says, Ha Rabbanan and Ha Rabbi Yochanan ben Uri. The Gemara says, let's see it inside. Ha Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. It's not. Al Yerokot Omer borei pri adama. The Mishnah says that on vegetables you say borei pri adama. Rabbi Yehuda says you say borei minei deshaim. The same way Rabbi Yehuda says that on leafy vegetables you say borei minei deshaim. But if he wants to be very specific, that's why he says borei minei deshaim. You're thanking Hashem for all different types of herbs that Hashem creates. So too, when it comes to seeds, things that are made from seed products, you also say like lentils and all that. You'll say a different type of bracha, borei minei zraim. So that's what the Gemara says. We welcome. What's your name? Gavid's joining the learning. But again, the halacha follows. We don't say borei minei deshaim. We don't say borei minei zraim, because Rabbi Yehuda wanted to be very specific in the bracha on things that grow from the ground. He wanted to identify a difference if it's a seed, let's say a lentil, a pea, or that type of stuff, or something which is a leafy type of thing. He'll make a different bracha for something that's called a seed, the seed family, the bean family, and I'll make a different bracha for something for the herb family. And we don't do that, but that's what the Gemara says. It's a matter of difference of opinion. Okay. A new point the Gemara says. Amamar. We're
Rabbi,
Gavin. Okay, like Gavin is like the goal, the Av Besden. Okay, yeah. What do you want to say?
Good morning, Rabbi. Nothing.
Morning. Yaron from Guadalupe is on. We're so happy to have Yaron from Guadalupe. Ariel is very happy to hear that you're on. So the Gemara says like this. Amamar. Gavad, you have the Gemara. Amamar hakoseis es orez. We are now 7 lines from the wide lines. You have it? On Lamed Zayin and Aleph. Someone is chews rice. Someone takes raw rice and he chews the rice. Now I presume it's talking about the rice kernel, and not the way we have rice today, our raw rice. But Hakos says, if you go ahead and you chew the rice in its original, the way it grows, if you chew the rice, the bracha is bar priadama because it's not in the proper form. The proper form to eat, the normal form to eat rice is what? It's cooked. So now if you're eating it and not in the normal way that it's eaten, so we'll not get the bracha of mizonot, and we'll get the bracha of hadama. It's in its raw state as a fruit. It's a fruit of the ground. Just like if you chew raw wheat, what's the bracha on raw wheat? Hadama. When you cook the wheat, when you make it into something, you make it mizonot because now you improved it. That's the way it's supposed to be. But if you take raw wheat, you say, if you chew raw wheat, you say adama. Raw rice, if you in the original, you say a border adama. You say adama on French fries. So that it might depend on how much is there from the how strong the bread it is or not. If it's a very light, that's a good question. Let's say fish sticks. What's the bracha on fish sticks? Right, it's covered with a little coating. Is it a mezonot? The fish sticks at shehakol. What's really the main? So we'll see as we learn. We'll see more about the different foods and these. That's a good question. What do you do when it's breaded? Does it take on? Is it a mezonot or it's still a shehakol? Okay. So the Gemara says, if you took the rice and you go ahead now, but if you went in and you grounded the rice, afo, you baked the rice. That means you made it like into rice bread, and then ubishlo, and then you cooked it. That's the case. You hear the case? We got the case clearly. You took rice, you ground it, you baked it. Right? There's something called rice bread. Right? We spoke about rice bread yesterday. And then after you made the rice bread, you went ahead and you boiled it up in water. Now this rice bread, after you boiled it, even if the pieces remain whole, it didn't fall apart, it remains whole. You still make a borim in mezonos, in contrast to bread, wheat. But we said yesterday, if you have wheat and you bake the wheat and then you cook the wheat, if the wheat remained intact, you still make a hamotzi lechem and aretz, correct? If it remained intact. But here by rice is different. If you went ahead and you baked the rice, even though you made it into a rice bread, and then you went ahead and you cooked it, it retains the texture of the rice bread because it didn't fall apart. You still say a mezonot. That's what the Gemara says. L'sof mevorach aleha, l'sof bracha achas me'ein shalosh. And what's the bracha after rice bread? What's the bracha after this rice that you cooked, even though you cooked it eventually? So that's Mr. Haber says the halacha is you say on rice a burn of fashot. But here we have an opinion in the Gemara. At least the Gemara has a recording at this point that the opinion is you say ala michya. There's an opinion in the Gemara that's not the halacha at this point that what's the proper bracha after you eat rice? Ala michya. The Gemara says, what do you mean? The Gemara says, Vatanya. We learned in a Braita, the Gemara says, Vatanya, we learned in a Braita that l'b'sof v'lo klum, that you do not say an ala michya on rice. The bracha on rice is a borin of fashot. So we have a contradiction. One place says that the bracha on rice is ala michya, and one place says that the bracha on rice is borin of fashot. So what is the right bracha? What is the right after bracha for rice? That's the okay. Yes. Sammy says the bracha achwana for rice is borin of fashot. He's correct because that's the halacha. But now we're in the Gemara where we're developed. The halacha is being developed. We're trying to understand the halacha.
Avi.
We have two different opinions.
Avi.
Right. But we don't, right? But the Gemara, you're already after the fact. Here we're before the fact. We're in the Gemara, we're in the Beit Midrash. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to understand what is the bracha achrona for rice. So the Gemara brings a contradiction. And the Gemara says, "Lebesof v'lo klum." Now, some comment, what is lebesof v'lo klum? So Rashi says, "Look, what do you mean v'lo klum?" Bori nefashos is not called lo klum. Lo klum means a nothing. What do you mean nothing? You're saying bori nefashos. So it says lo klum means you don't say that ala michya. You don't need the bracha, like the same bracha you do on the special fruits of Israel. You say the bracha mein shalosh. You say ala eitz. So you say ala michya. This food, the rice, doesn't require it doesn't require that type of bracha. That's what v'lo klum. It doesn't have. That's not what. It doesn't need that bracha. Not only you don't need birkat hamazon, you don't even need the ala michya. So what do you need? You need bar v'nefashel. That's how some explain the Gemara. There are those that explain the Gemara that bar v'nefashel originally the rabbis instituted bar v'nefashel more for, let's say, for eggs. You eat eggs, you say a bar nefashot. Meat, you say a bar nefashot. Only later on, the things that let's say other things, let's say like vegetables and these type of things were not included in the only things that came from live things that are like a chicken. It's a live thing. You have eggs from a chicken, meat from an animal. Things that came from a live type of animal was where you said the bar nefashot, and then later on they instituted bar nefashot. They added bar nefashot for other types of foods like vegetables. That's how some explain, and that will explain why the Gemara says, after you eat rice, v'lo klum. You don't say anything. What do you mean you don't say anything? We say bar nefashot. It means originally they didn't say anything for it. They didn't say even bar nefashot. Only later on we say bar nefashot. That's how some understand. But Rashi doesn't seem to say that. Rashi says, v'lo klum means you don't say the bracha of ala michya. You don't say any of that, but definitely it could be you always had to say the bar nefashot. Of course, la lacha we say bar nefashot. So now, Omer Rav Sheshet. Rav Sheshet wants to say, yes, Mr. Haber is pointing out a very important point. In order to say there's a difference between a bracha achrona and a bracha rishona, a bracha before. But of course, a bracha rishona, you have a little bit of coffee, any amount, you want any amount of a food, a coffee, a vegetable. I want to have a little piece of an orange. I have to say a bracha rishona. I say a bracha before I eat. Anything I'm intending to eat this food, any amount that I want to eat, I say a bracha before I eat. When it comes to bracha achrona, if it's a salad, I need a kazayit. I need to have an ounce. I need to have an ounce of vegetables, an ounce of an orange, ounce of an apple, ounce of an egg. I need to call it a kazayit. I need a kazayit. Drink, we say you need 2.9, it's about 3 ounces or so, about maybe 3.3, different opinions, around 3 ounces of liquid in order to say a bracha achrona. Right. So Sammy says, great, right, very good. Right. So I'm very good. I'm going to address Sammy's question. Sammy asked a great question. Why Sammy asked, why the difference? Why is it that before you eat, you have to have, it's any amount? And when it comes to after you eat, even birkat hamazon, the ladies have a problem. You know what the ladies' problem? They're very diet conscious. That's not a problem. It's a good thing, maybe. And they shouldn't overdo it, maybe. But they're diet conscious, and sometimes they take a little bit of the hamotzi, they take a little bite, and then they don't eat anymore. Right? That's a mistake, because they need to have a kazayit. They need to have a 1 ounce of bread in order to say a bracha birkat hamazon. They need it, right, Ariel? They need an ounce of bread. So the question, and therefore, and also it's supposed to be eaten in a certain amount of time, not that you eat an ounce over 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Right? If they washed and they said that daim, it's a bracha levatala. Correct? If they did not have a certain amount of bread. So to drink, if you don't have a kazayit of bread, if you don't have you don't say a bracha until daim if you have less than a kazayit of bread, and really. Holy Spirit say one thing, Sammy. Really, the halacha talks about you have to have 2 ounces of bread to say the bracha, a beitza, the size of an egg, in order to say the bracha Natilat Yadayim. You still will wash your hands before it, even if you're not going to say the bracha. So you wash your hands. No, you. See the guy. Right. We'll explain. Friday night when you're having the challah, right? If you a small piece of challah, and then you would not say you're not you would, and you only plan on eating that little piece, less than, as Guyvid says, 27 grams, because an ounce is 27 grams. You would you don't really, technically, if you're not even having 27 grams, you might not even be required to wash. It might be a good thing to wash anyways, but you definitely will not say how much? 27 grams a lot? 27 grams is not too much. What do you say, Yosef and Sadiq? Mike, right. So you got to ask for another piece. You got to ask for another piece. So you have to change that. And the Birkat HaMazon is the Bracha Vatala. The Bracha HaMazon is the Bracha Vatala. You can't say Birkat HaMazon. I'm not Mekabel. It's probably you're not doing it. You're probably eating more than you think. Right. Now you know. That's why you come to the class, right? Everybody with us on the screen? Everybody hear what's going on the screen? That's not good enough. You have to eat it. No, not a whole. One slice of bread. One slice of bread. One slice of bread. No, one slice of bread. Less than a half a pita. A pita must probably check it out. Guyvid is going to check it out. Yeah, well, 27 grams is not enough. You got to eat the gazayit. Mr. Haber, we spoke about this once upon a time, I think. Right? We got. Okay, now let's continue in the Gemara. Okay. Okay. It's always best to wash always without, but no matter what. If you're eating bread, you wash. Whether you say it's always best. Halacha only mandates you to wash, what I recall, if you're having 27 grams, 1 ounce. If you're having less than 27 grams, you're not mandated to wash, but you should wash. It's recommended. Hold on 1 second. But it's recommended to wash, but don't say the bracha Yadayim. If you're between 27 grams and 54 grams, between 1 and 2 ounces, you plan on eating, whether you need to say Natilat Yadayim or not on that amount is a matter of discussion. Right, and you see what? Again, but you're supposed to wash your hands, and before you say the bracha before you dry your hands. I don't know that you have to do it again. No, meaning a person has to be. But you washed your hands already. What's there to do more? You did it. Okay, I don't. If you say, I don't think so. I mean, I can't tell you. I wouldn't. Aruch HaShulchan, I think, says you would not say the bracha again if you dried your hands and said the bracha after you dried the hands. Just continue going. Okay, just to address the question that was brought to the yes, Akiva. Right. So I'm going to answer that question. Yes, Akiva, I got it. I'm going to answer your question. Before you benefit from something, the Chachamim, the Torah says, again, the bracha before you eat the rabbinic. The rabbi says before you eat, you're having benefit, you're going to have a benefit, say a bracha before you benefit. But now, when you've already benefited, what's called if you had such an insignificant amount of benefit, for instance, you had less than an ounce of bread, so you had an insignificant amount. So the Torah, when the Torah says "V'achalta v'savata," you ate and you were satiated, the Torah is telling you how to eat. You eating less than an ounce is not called the real eating of the Torah. Eating less than a kazayit, just like the Torah says, if a person eats matzah on Pesach, how much matzah you have the Torah is mandating you to eat? Eating is called an kazayit. So when the Torah mandate obligates you to say a bracha to thank Hashem for what you ate, is only when you think you ate something of significance. So therefore, the same thing the Chachamim mirrored the bracha of Born the Fashot, similar to the Birkat HaMazon. That just like the Torah only obligated you to say Birkat HaMazon when you ate a kazayit of bread, when you had an amount that filled you, that was a kazayit, the Torah did not obligate you to say Birkat HaMazon on a little bit of bread. The Torah said you ate bread, and eating is a kazayit. So too the Chacham said to thank Hashem for what you already ate. That's only if you had a amount like a kazayit of a salad and a revi'it on a liquid. You should know, by the way, on a liquid, there's a machloket. Some say on a liquid, also a kazayit, 1 ounce, we should say a bracha achorah. Others say no, you have to have the size of a revi'it, 3 ounces. So therefore, the halacha says try to avoid between 1 and 3 ounces, because 1 and 3 ounces you're in a gray area. Because some say you should say a burn the fashot on 1 ounce of liquid. Others say you don't. So if you drank between 1 and 3 ounces of liquid, you will not say a burn the fashot. But try to avoid it. But therefore, try to drink at least better three or more, or 1 or less than 1. That would be the ideal. But if you order 1 slice, right? So now you get it again. Yes, because that's the Yalkut Yosef. The Sfardim, there's a difference between Sfardim and Ashkenazim. And that's the question. Yes, I think that's the prevailing. It could be Sammy. That's Sammy. It could be Sammy. Because you know why? Because you're under the influence of the Ashkenazim. Okay, Ashkenazim say mezonot on 1 slice of pizza, but the halacha discusses exactly that also, Sammy. If a person ate, if you're an Ashkenazi and you ate 1 slice of pizza, now Rabbi David Feinstein, Mr. Haber knew, and Mr. Rabbi David Feinstein would say, if you have 2 slices of pizza, the Ashkenazi should wash. But if you had 1 slice of pizza, if you went to have 1 slice. If you said a mezonot, I mean you clearly had in mind I'm only eating 1 slice. Now after you finish that 1 slice, you plan on having another slice. You have to make a new bracha on the next slice. So I would think we have to double check. I would think the following: if you plan on having 2 more slices, then you would have to go ahead and wash and say it yadayim and amotzi. No, you would not say al micha for the first one. You would say after because at the end when you. Yes. Right, if you're going in, if you had them right, but then you'll have to make a new bracha. You would have to make a new bracha on the second slice. Sammy, you would have to make right. I would think right. Maybe you would wash for the second slice, but if you're not having a size of a right, but the question is right. But, yes. No, yeah, but okay, yes, a big Ashkenaz is farther. But again, the end of the day is if you had 1 slice, you had them only have 1 slice, and you change your mind, then you have to make a new bracha on the second slice. So it could you should do a motzi on 1 slice. Farther if you do a motzi. And Birkat HaMazon. Yes, if it's yes. What do you want to say, Gaivad? I don't know if people are particular about. It shows like you're starving, but it could be if it's a normal thing. It might not be a problem. Might have been potato starch for Pesach. So guess yeah. So now the question is if you should say Birkat Hamazon or not. You have to try to figure it out. Okay. Gavin, we'll talk. Gavin, we'll talk. We'll talk about it after the class. Okay, let's want to go back to the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara says, everyone back to the Gemara. Everyone have the Gemara? Amar Rav Sheshet. Mr. Haber, we're back in the Gemara?
Yeah.
Amar Rav Sheshet. Rav Sheshet says, Lukasha Rav Gamliel Rabbanan. The Tanya. First word of the line is Zaklau. Kol Shum Shiva Taminim. Anything that's from the Shiva Taminim, the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Gamliel Omer, Sholosh Brachot. Rabbi Gamliel says that if you have grapes, you have pomegranates, you have dates, you know what you do after, you know what bracha achrona you say after dates? He says Birkat Hamazon. Do you like that? Because the pasuk.
What? Really?
That's the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel. Why?
Oh, okay, opinion.
Because the Torah, when the Torah talks about the 7 species, it follows up v'achalta v'savata v'erachta. So he understands that you say Birkat Hamazon on any of the 7 special foods of the land of Israel. Pomegranates, dates, olives, grapes. You say Birkat Hamazon. The Chachamim omrim bracha mein shalosh. The Chachamim say no. You do not say Birkat Hamazon on olives and grapes and pomegranates and figs. You say ala 8, spelled 3 8s. And why did the Chachamim say that? Because there is, if you look at the pasuk, there's a little divide in the pasuk between the 7 species and bread, and therefore they say when the pasuk says v'achalta v'savata, it's going on specific on the lechem that was mentioned in the pasuk, on the bread, not on all the other things that were mentioned earlier. Now the Gemara brings a story. There was a story of Rabbi Gamliel v'Azkenim and the great rabbis. Shayim Mesubim, they were eating, they were leaning, like we have in the Haggadah, Mesubim. That was the way of eating. Ve'aliyah, they were upstairs in the attic in Yericho. Ve'viu lifneim kosavot, they brought dates. The dates, the fruit, the dates. That's one of the Shiva Taminim is dates, right, Ariel? V'ochlu, and they ate the dates. V'nosan Rabbi Gamliel reshut Rabbi Akiva levarech, and Rabbi Gamliel gave permission to Rabbi Akiva to say the bracha. And what does it mean, levarech? He wanted him to say Birkat Hamazon, because Rabbi Gamliel holds that what do you do? What's the bracha for dates? Birkat Hamazon. So he wanted him to lead in the zimun, or he wanted him to lead and do the benching, lead the benching, or say, and what happened? Rabbi Akiva was very fast to immediately say ala eitz val priya eitz. He did not say Birkat Hamazon. And why didn't he say Birkat Hamazon? And Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Gamliel is going to say to him, Rabbi, why didn't you say Birkat Hamazon? Why did you take a position in this machloket? Meaning you went ahead and I'm of the opinion you say Birkat Hamazon on it, and you went ahead and you say ala eight. Thank you, Avi. So why did you do such a thing? Why ad Mosai Omalei Rabbi Gamliel Akiva? That's 3 lines from the bottom. Akiva. We have Akiva here at our table. Now the reason why you refer to him as Akiva, not Rebbe Akiva, because they were colleagues. They were like 2 rabbis addressing each other. Akiva and Mosayat Machos Roshcha ben Machloket. How long are you going to be getting yourself involved in a machloket? Why are you taking a side in the machloket? Now, what does Rabbi Gamliel mean to say? He meant to say you should have done something else. you should have went ahead and said Birkat HaMazon. Why? Because since I, Rabbi Gamliel, hold, you say Birkat HaMazon for dates. The other opinion, the Chacham say you say ala eitz. It's a safek. If I'm obligated in Birkat HaMazon, which is biblical, it's a safek daraita l'chumra. So you should have went ahead and said ala Birkat HaMazon. So why did you go ahead? And Rabbi Akiva was very smart. The commentators pointed he didn't want to wait till Rabbi Gamliel says say Birkat HaMazon, because then he would have to go. He didn't want to go against him openly. So if the Rabbi Akiva says say Birkat, say bracha. So Rabbi Akiva immediately started saying the ala eitz. So now he didn't openly go against the rabbi said say Birkat HaMazon, and he went out against him. So what does Rabbi Akiva respond? So why did you take a position? So Omale Rabbeinu. So look how Rabbi Akiva refers to Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel is like the Nasi. Rabbeinu refers to him as our rabbi, our master. Afal pisha ata umekein. Even though you have the opinion that you say Birkat HaMazon for dates. However, v'chaverecha, your friends, the other rabbis, they omrim v'chaverecha omrim kein. But your friends that say that you're supposed to say the bracha achronav mein shalosh. The majority of the rabbis say you're not supposed to say Birkat HaMazon on dates. You're supposed to say ala eitz on dates. Ala eitz val priya eitz. And we know limadet tanu rabbeinu. Our rabbi, Rabbi Gamliel, you have taught us. Yachid the rabbim. When there's a dispute between a minority opinion and a majority opinion, halacha kirabim, it follows the majority, like the Torah says, acharei rabim lahatot. You have to go after the majority. So therefore, I follow the Rabbanan, meaning to say, it's not a safek. When do you say safek that right to l'chumra? When you have a question, maybe I should do it this way, or do it this way, I'm not sure. So I say safek that right to l'chumra. But here it's clearly defined. The law follows that you should say ala eitz, not Birkat HaMazon, because the law follows we follow the majority. Now the Gemara continues. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishmo. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Gamliel, Kol shehu mi shivat haminim. Now we're turning the page. Mazel tov, mabruk. Anything that's from the 7 species. V'lo min daganhu. It's from the 7 species, but it's not a grain. It's grapes, it's olives, it's figs, it's pomegranates. Or mindagan, if it's one of the grains, wheat, barley, oat, spelt, rye. V'lo so pat, or it's, and you did not make it into bread, you made pasta. You made pasta. What's the law if you made pasta? So he says, this opinion is Rabbi Gamliel Omer Shalosh Brachot. Rabbi Gamliel says you'll say Birkat HaMazon. You'll say Birkat HaMazon on dates, on figs, on olives, and even if you didn't make something into bread, you would go ahead and make you would say on things of grain, you would say Birkat HaMazon. However, Chachamim say all those items. If you didn't turn it into bread, you didn't turn the wheat into bread, or you made it into a cake. You had cake. So according to, it would seem Rabbi Gamliel say, you would say Birkat HaMazon on cake. Some wheat, you make Birkat HaMazon. But the Chacham say no. If it's not from the grains, and you didn't turn it, you will not say Birkat HaMazon on grapes. And even if it's from the grains, if it's not bread, you will only say ala michya. So wraps is a whole discussion. Are wraps mezonot or not? Wraps are right. So some say there's a difference in how thick the wrap is. Some say there are those opinions. Somehow, as Mr. Haber spoke about pizza, is a whole discussion. Wraps is also the more modern day discussion. If the wrap, some say if the wrap around the tuna is a small wrap, a light wrap, a very thin wrap. So maybe that's not, you will not say hamotzi on that. But if it's a thick wrap, you're eating it as a meal. There's a lot of discussion about the wrap as well. on the wrap, okay? But there's a lot of discussion on the wrap. It's not under wrap, or is under wrap. What? Say it again. Yes, exactly. Now, just wrap the ring around the girl and get married. That's what you got to wrap. Okay. Now the Gemara says, you heard that, Mike? That was in honor of Ariel. The Gemara says,
He's on it, Rabbi. He's on it.
yes, the Chacham omrim bracha achat. Now, the Gemara continues. Kol she'eino. Now, what about if it's not Mishivat Haminim? It's not from the 7 species of Israel. It's not from the 7 special fruits that Israel is known from. If it's not from those 7 fruits, v'lo min dagan, and it's not grain. It's not grain. Let's say it's rice. Rice is not not from the 5 grains, and it's also not from the species of the land of Israel. It's not that Israel. Maybe China is known for its rice. Israel is not known for its rice. V'lo min dagan could go past orez v'dochan. Rabbi Gamliel Omer. Rabbi Gamliel, Mr. Haber said the halacha, the proper halacha is burn a fashon on the rice. But what does Rabbi Gamliel say? Rabbi Gamliel Omer, bracha achat me'in shalosh. Rabbi Gamliel says the bracha that you say on the rice is ala michya. According to the version of the Gemara at this point, the chachamim omrim below klum. And the chachamim say that the bracha, you don't say a bracha of ala michya on the rice, you say a burn of fashot. So the Gemara says, the mayu kimta, and the Gemara says, mayu kimta Rabbi Gamliel. You wanted to say that the brisa that says that on rice you say the bracha ala michya is like Rabbi Gamliel, but Ema say for the Resha. But if you look at the end of the Resha, im ena prusas kayamo, if the bread, if the rice is not, we said at first, we said about the bread, if the bread is not intact, B'tchila omer, if you made bread and then you cooked the bread after you baked the bread and it came into pieces, there you say mezonot, and then you say ala michya. If you have bread that you baked and then you cooked it and then it dissolved, you say a borim min mezonot. And we're about 5 lines from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the top on Lamed Zayin and base. But we said now Mani, who's the author? Rabbi Gamliel. If it's Rabbi Gamliel, hashtag asavot v'daisam Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel says on dates you say it Mashalish Brachot. You say Birkat Hamazon on dates. So if you have pieces that were originally bread and then you cooked it, and then it dissolved, and it's not a whole piece, are you gonna tell me you'll say ala michya? It won't make sense. If on dates you say Birkat Hamazon, Rabbi Gamliel says on dates you say Birkat Hamazon, certainly on things that was originally bread and then you cooked it and it's small pieces, you definitely say Birkat Hamazon. Ella pshita rabbanan. It's the rabbanan. It's the rabbanan's opinion that say you don't make a Birkat Hamazon on dates. If that's the case, ihachi kasher rabbanan rabbanan. We have a contradiction because one place the rabbanan say on rice you say a burn of fashot, and one place on rice you say ala michya. So the Gemara answers ela olam rabbanan utani. You have to amend the language of the Braita. The Braita does not say the recording was not the proper recording. It's not that you say ala michya on rice, rather you say a burn of fashot. Ela olam gabe oreis tani ga oreis v'sof ena mevarech. Allah v'lo klum. You do not say ala michya on rice. That's the clue. That's the halacha. You say burn of fashot. I want to wish everyone a great day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. So tomorrow, I apologize. I have a bar mitzvah in the morning. I generally try not to miss, because the learning is so important, and we try not to miss. But tomorrow is a bar mitzvah, so I'm going to give people makeup at night. I'm going to give with Navid. You're good. Navid at night. I give on the parsha at 9:00 tomorrow night. We'll send that to the group. Anybody wants to join into Zoom 9:00 with Navid? That's your brother-in-law, right?
Mazal tov, Rabbi.
Mazel tov. So thank you very much. And we'll be back on Friday. But but we still
Mazal
want
tov, Rabbi.
everyone to
Thank
use
you.
the time time in the morning, you'll make me feel less guilty to use the time in the morning to learn, right, Mr. Haber? Maybe Mr. Haber should give the class tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. All the best, everybody. Take care. Ariel, take care. Hold on one second. Avi, I just want to